This new look.
I feel like we were just here. All right, let's let it rip.
So who are you taking? Hit it like you live, hard and fast.
Sorry, this is one of those press conferences. It's like, it's like listening to a coach right before a game, Well, this is what we're going to do. It's all about time of possession and turnovers,
What about the process? Are you done now? The board's set. You guys are done now?
No, we're not. Pete and I still work through some things. Miss Jody's coming over this afternoon, so we'll take her through the process. What the board looks like right now. We're done with the coaches. We were with those guys this weekend, and so we have some things to work through still.
You talked last year about kind of paring down the process a little bit. How much did that help you in maybe planning for this year? What it was like doing it last year?
Yeah, it's helped. It's made it much more clean. We kept adding more and more players, it seemed like, and so what we've done is categorize what we've done a better job of categorizing what a Seahawk looks like, and would you draft him or not, just black and white, and not making excuses for players. So, and we've taken guys that were really free agents. We started tending to we always focus on accentuating the positives in players. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up bringing players over from the free agent board and putting them in the 7th round. We just kind of started accumulating that way. And we've pulled off of that.
Is it drastically different for you, John, knowing you only have 4 picks going in?
Well, it's not fun. But we build our team all the way through the year, and that's just part of the process. So not having the 6 and the 7 stems from, having, a backup quarterback and a core special teams player. And obviously a 2nd-round pick is a, Pro Bowl left tackle. So it's part of the process. We'll continue to do it when we go to 53 again this year.
Does knowing you might have some comp picks coming next year influence anything at all, or help you in any way?
Yeah, I think it does. I think we were very disciplined in our approach this year, and so I think it definitely helps when you're talking about being moving around the board, and yeah, it helps. It's just another nugget out there for people.
Is that like a thought going into free agency this year? Or did it sort of just evolve the way free agency evolved to try to, I guess, maximize that if you could?
It was because we know where we ended up, with having 4 picks and what that looks like, but we did have specific holes that we needed to fill last year in free agency, and we couldn't, wait around until, after the draft when the unrestricted free agents don't count towards your compensatory picks. We didn't have that luxury.
What does a Seahawk player look like? You mentioned, whittling down, the list to who you guys identify as like Seahawk players. What does that mean?
Smart, tough, reliable competitors, guys that are going to be, come in here. They're going to come in and be ready to go after somebody's job, and that everybody buys into. The coaches buy in from a developmental standpoint, and the personnel department buys into from a evaluation standpoint.
This is being labeled as a great defensive draft, particularly D-line. Do you guys see it that way?
Yeah, it is, but it's so late now. We've done a really good job of kind of beating guys up a little bit through the process, but it still is all the way through, especially I'd say like the first 3 rounds, and then seems to be a slight drop off. But the defense as a whole is a really good draft.
Mm-hmm. There keep being rumors about Frank Clark and if you guys. I know you're not going to say what you're specifically going to do. But does there need to be any clarity to Frank's situation at any time soon at all, or can this be one of those things that kind of goes for a while? Or?
Like I said the other night, this is the time, the trade deadline, and then in this time of the year, there's tons of speculation about a lot of players, and we're involved in a lot of deals. We take a lot of pride in that. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we weren't listening to everybody. So I get it. It's people need to be speculating on things at this time of the year. We just watched something this morning. It was like they got everything figured out for us. So we spend a ton of time on and take a lot of pride in having relationships through the league and understanding what's going on as much as we possibly can.
Pete, in particular, what asset has that edge rusher become in the last 10 years in the NFL to a team.
It hasn't changed. No, it's been a critical position forever, you know, and the hardest really unique player to find, you know, big, fast guy that's agile and athletic like a DB, you know, rush the passer. So it's always the hardest guy, and it's why people reach so far to try and find those guys because they're so rare. So I don't think it's changed. You know, I mean, the throwing game's a little bit more so numbers-wise, but you always need to get somebody to come off the edge and you know and cause the problems in the passing game from the rush standpoint, and so nothing new.
Do you think that it's harder for a rookie player or a younger player to get used to the pace of the game at the defensive end position, aside from any other?
No, the positions have, you know, they have their own kind of uniqueness to them. And so it's a challenge for anybody at any spot to play early, you know. And there's some spots that's a little easier than others. I don't think it's that much different, you know, on the defense side of the ball, relatively. But, you know, as you get close to football, the quarterback position is the most challenging, the most difficult, and it changes as you move outward. But pass rush and pass protection skills are really the ones that are the most difficult to develop and take the longest time to refine. And so, you know, those are the areas for whether it's a running back or a left tackle. You know, those guys they got a lot of room to grow in protecting, just as the guys rushing them, you know, have a lot to grow also. So.
John, last year, Poona Ford was a guy who was well regarded prior to the draft. He went all the way through the draft, including you guys. Was that a classic case of teams overthinking the guy?
Yeah, that's a great example. So, and you have to be very careful about this, you know, right at the end here too, that you're not over-evaluating people and pushing people, and you know, having specific positions that you feel are of need. So then you move certain players around. You have to keep going back to the fundamentally what does it look like and who are the players. Poona that's a great example. He was a great player, but he had redeeming qualities. He had great arm length, and he played with great leverage and got up and down the line of scrimmage.
You guys passed on him as well. So how do you check yourself on that?
Well, I don't think it's the question of overthinking. It's just how many 5'11" nose tackles are there in the NFL playing? So there aren't very many guys in that profile, you know. And I don't know if you overthink it. You just go, well, it's rare. He's a rare combination athlete, and you had to get by the fact that he would have been the smallest nose tackle in the league, you know. And sometimes it happens to quarterbacks too, you know. And it's so. When it came back down to it, his qualities were so unique, and he was so good at making plays and getting off the football and all that he overcomes the kind of the stereotype of being a smaller guy. And like John said, his leverage and his length is really his arm length is as long as a guy that's 5 inches taller than him, you know. So he was a little bit unusual.
You saw it happen with Philip Lindsay last year, 5'8", 192. You can't play running back.
That's one of the cool parts of the draft, you know. Yeah.
Here he goes. Yeah. Right away, he did a great job.
Yeah.
We all loved him. We all knew he was a great player. Everybody. You couldn't talk to anybody. Same thing with Poona. Poona was a defensive player in their conference, you know. So.
Yeah. John, you guys have this reputation for being a team that trades down a lot and gets extra pick. Does that, when you have that reputation, you've done it so for so many years, does it get harder to do that ever at all? I mean, do you ever call a team that is like, why are the Seahawks calling me? They must have something.
No, I think people recognize that we're obviously open to moving back. This year's unique, having 4 picks. Rookie free agency is going to be huge for us, you know, because you can. It's not like you just pick up the phone and people are like, hey, we'll come up, and I mean it's a process that starts, several picks, selections ahead of where you're currently sitting. So. But our guys do a great job of calling everybody and trying to get scenarios all set up and where can we go. They're trying to figure out where we can go and move back to. So I think the fact that we have done it a lot kind of invites people a little bit.
It's kind of like Steph Curry. How many people ask Steph Curry, Jesus, is it harder to hit those threes now that everybody knows you're really good at it, and so it's not getting harder, right?
Wow.
Does that make the undrafted free agency any more important this year?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I mean, I think it's going to be a huge focus for us, but we're gonna have a lot of people looking at us, right away. I'm sure a lot of these players, these prospects, their representatives are going to be looking at us like a very attractive place, not only because Pete's and his staff are so open to competition and development, but also the
Good payback.
Yeah, like Magic Johnson, over here.
Yeah, really.
Wheeling and dealing. No, they just. I think I just think it's going to be right now. It's going to be obviously an attractive place.
John, in addition to Frank, you have Bobby and Jaron getting ready to enter the last year of their deals too. All three of those guys are such key parts of your defense. Is it feasible to kind of keep that group together moving forward with your plan as you kind of see it right now?
Feasible, very challenging. Yeah, I think it's more. Yeah. Were you in my bedroom last night when I woke up in the middle of the night? No. I think about it all the time.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that'll be weird. Gee, I sure hope that doesn't happen.
John, has there been significant progress on getting a long-term deal for Frank?
Great question. One that I can't answer, brother. Sorry.
So your guys' 10th draft together, you and John obviously didn't know each other all that well before this. You got together in 2010. What have you learned most about him through 9 drafts, going on 10 here?
Well, there's a lot, There's a lot, We've been through a lot of stuff together. I've learned how much to rely on him and to count on his instincts and his sense. His awareness in the draft, and where guys are going to go has been uncanny over the years, and that's why we've been able to pick guys the way we picked them. And that's knowledge of not just the players, but it's knowledge of the system. It's knowledge of other factors from the other teams. Who's calling the shots at other places and the needs of other teams, and processing all of that stuff. It's just part of our makeup that is pretty steady. And I know I refer to him as Steph. So that's going pretty far, I guess. But he's really good at it, and so as we go through and we have our stages, like today's a really important day for us. We meet with the owner today, and these are the steps that we've always taken. And by Wednesday's a really big day for John and I, and everything is set up like it's supposed to be for us, and all of the processing that we've gone through to get to this point. So here we go again. We're going to go into the draft really confident that we can kind of follow in his lead, whether we know what's going to happen, and then we'll make our decisions accordingly. And that's been part of the magic of John's ability to sense when it's time to move and to go down and to do those things and what we could possibly get. And we have some really, in our minds, some historic moves that we've made to get really key players for us. And so, that's the stuff that you come to understand. He's going to try to find some guys that help me coach better, make me look better. So that's something I'm counting on.
And we'll be done. Pete and I'll just be looking at everything Wednesday, or maybe tomorrow night. Wednesday, Thursday, it's all set. So by the time we get there, it looks like a map, or actually it looks more like a graph, I guess. But we had a company try to sell us like this table, where you could. They're like, well, in the 5th round, they named a specific team. I won't mention them. Like, they were debating between such players, and they could go to this TV, this
board.
table TV, and you could watch the 2 players, during the draft, and then that's not we're ready to go. Bad investment, bad.
John, there was a report that Gruden and his staff kind of dismissed all the scouts and stuff over the weekend to just avoid leaks and stuff for their draft board and such. Is that normal this time to only limit how many people are in the room and kind of get rid of everyone over the weekend?
Everybody does things differently, It's Mike's first draft, so he's probably trying to figure out, how, the process of it. So, sorry about that. I get fined for that. Yeah, no, we're just. I think we've done a really good job. We said it the other day when we started with the coaches. I think everybody coming in that room, once we're in there, I think we've done a really good job of, keeping it tight and knowing that this is our livelihood and that we're all in this thing together. So if something gets out, that it's going to affect our plans, then, it affects all of our livelihood.
Somewhat related to that, how does it help both of you that pretty much your scouting department, the continuity's been the same, and they know what a player needs to be for your system and vice versa?
Yeah, let me answer that from the
Yeah, go
outside
for it.
in. Watching them work is, and I've watched John and his guys for years, and there are strengths to guys and there are ways that guys have, and they've got their areas and they've got all the nuances about their processing that John's kind of, hone the edges so that we really can get the best that guys have to offer. And it's just an ongoing, big, monstrous process that they go through. And as always, knowing your players is so important so that you can put them in position to do well. And that's what they've done. And it's cool to watch. It's a big orchestration. And to John, it's just like old hats, no big deal. But it is really exciting to see it happen because it is months and months and months of work, of an accumulation of stuff, and all of those opinions. He knows how to count on one guy. When one guy gets a bug up, his butt, some guy that whatever. He knows why he's doing it, and he knows where that comes from. And then another guy's championing the guy's cause, and he knows where he's coming from and the background of all that stuff. It's the continuity is really valuable, and I think because you know your people, and that's his ability to translate that information is what's so important and facilitates, and particularly as we get close and stuff starts happening, and now you're in the draft, you're in the middle of the rounds, and and things are happening in the middle of the picks and stuff. That ability to function at a really high level and make sense and look at each other and know what the other guy's thinking. I mean, they've got that kind of chemistry because they've been together so much, and it's thanks for letting me answer it, but it's a cool thought. Glad you asked that.
John, when you're talking to people around the league about trades, does your relationship with them matter now that you've accumulated, all these years, or is the presence of analytics just so much that you don't have to rely on trusting a guy you've dealt with?
That's a great question. There's several different, charts, that people use, the analytics portion of it that you're talking about. But I think the relationship part of it, knowing that you can just call somebody up and there's specific people that you can do deals with in a more timely manner than some others, and it's just about working through a process and making sure that you're efficient with your time and the clock.
Are there people you just try to stay away from?
Not anymore. There used to be, yeah, but not anymore.
Such as?
Yeah, sure.
At the outset, you mentioned Jody. Do you anticipate her being a presence in your draft room like Paul had been in the past and being a part of that process in a similar fashion?
I don't know yet. We're going to talk to her this afternoon about it. Paul he was so used to the NBA, he loved coming for the first round, and then he would kind of see all those names and be like, all right, well, see you guys. I'm out of here. So I don't know yet. I know she's very excited, very interested, so.
Considering you guys are a team that typically likes to have a lot of picks and you have a desirable guy like Frank there, do you expect a lot of offers for that? And how do you prepare for those situations or those offers for a guy like Frank?
Yeah, that's a in-house. I mean, it's a great question. I would have asked it too, but it's just kind of an in-house process that we go through.
John, Pete talked about.
But I don't want to share.
Sorry to interrupt. Pete talked about that how he knows your scouting.
Yeah.
That whole, the process. How comforting is it for you to know Pete and the effect that has when you're looking at a player and know that
Sucks.
Pete can work with
Yeah.
Pete can work with this.
No, it's awesome because you can, you're evaluating the evaluators, right? So whether it's, evaluating how our doctors are grading people or our sports psychologist is evaluating people, all the scouts have, varying opinions and ways they go about things. Pete's wide open. He always has been from day one. I think that was one of the biggest reasons that those guys, thought we would work well together. And but you're evaluating the coaches too, and is the coach going to have patience with this guy? Is he going to be able to work with this guy? What's that going to look like in the room? How does the player fit into the wide receiver room or the defensive line room or the locker room in general? So knowing all those pieces and knowing that we're a developmental organization, from the top down with Pete and his coaching staff is huge for us. I mean, there's a lot of people that we don't even consider because, they would not be able to function in our culture.
How is Doug recovering from the surgery he recently had? Is he back here for off-season
Yeah,
program?
he is. He's working at it every day. He's here in the building, and I didn't see him today, but he was here, and he's working at it, making good progress. It's a long haul.
Anything else?
Another one in the books. All right.